World News and Events COVID-19 on June 22. Note, this is a collaborative video made between Travel for All Fanpage and Knowledge of Coronavirus channel. Please respectfully welcome everyone. The following is the remarkable news most on June 22 as follows. 1. U.S. News. President Donald Trump's re-election campaign rejected the claim that the fake enrollment campaign of Tik-Tok users and K-pop fans made the attendance of the Tulsa campaign less than Saturday night expected. Many teenagers are said to have booked a reservation without intending to attend the event to create empty seats. But the Trump 2020 group says they have removed suspicious reservation requests. Although Mr. Trump boasted earlier this week that nearly 1 million people requested tickets to attend his campaign at the Oklahoma Bank Center in Tulsa. But the 19,000-seat stadium actually had plenty of empty seats, and Trump's plans to speak to the people in an overflowing area outside were canceled. In his opening speech, Mr. Trump said there were very bad people outside. They were doing bad things, but did not specify the details. In response to the coronavirus, Mr. Trump said he encouraged officials to delay testing because it led to more cases being detected. He described the test as a double-edged sword. But a White House official later said that the president was obviously kidding. Targeting the Democratic presidential candidate, Mr. Trump described Joe Biden as the helpless puppet of the extremists. The president also mentioned anti-racist protests, and the overthrow of the statues began to take place after an unarmed black man, George Floyd, was killed by police in Minneapolis. President Trump decided to halt sanctions on Chinese officials. According to an interview published on June 21, U.S. President Donald Trump said that this action to protect the country's trade talks with China, he decided to suspend the imposition sanctions against Chinese officials for detaining Muslim minorities in Xinjiang. 2. Update the situation of COVID-19 in the world. According to the Worldometer statistics page, the global number of COVID-19 acute respiratory infections has officially surpassed 9 million, marking the 26th day in a row that the number of new infections has always been above 100,000. It is important to note that as of May 28, the number of new daily COVID-19 infections globally has been consistently higher than the previous period, at more than 100,000 cases. On June 21, the World Health Organization, WHO, announced a record increase in the number of COVID-19 cases globally, with a total of 183,020 people determined to be infected in 24 hours, mostly from North and South America, with 116,000 cases. To date, the world has recorded 9,033,421 people with COVID-19, including 469,539 deaths and 4,796,018 people recovered. The U.S. continues to be the world's epidemic, with 2,355,664 cases and 122,243 deaths. U.S. health experts warn that an increase in COVID-19 cases in states like Florida and Arizona is true, and both record new highs in daily infection rates on weekends, and they also try to remind the public to avoid large gatherings and they should pay attention to wearing masks in public places and in crowded places. After the United States is Brazil with 1,085,038 cases. On June 21, the Brazilian Health Agency said the number of COVID-19 deaths in the South American country also reached 50,608 people after recording 632 more cases in the past 24 hours. In the past week, Brazil has had 5 consecutive days recording the number of deaths per 1,000 people. Brazil has not yet reached the peak of the epidemic, even suggesting that Brazil could surpass the United States to become the country with the highest number of cases in the world by the end of July. In another South American country, Chile, the number of people infected with COVID-19 has officially surpassed Italy. The country was a very dangerous outbreak in the early stages. On June 21, the Chilean Ministry of Health reported that the number of positive cases with SARS-CoV-2 virus reached 242,355, an increase of 5,607 cases in the past 24 hours, including 4,479 deaths. Remarkably, when Italy was at the worst of the medical crisis, COVID-19 did not break out in Chile. In addition, Chile has only 18 million inhabitants, while Italy has 16 million and Spain has 47 million. Currently, Chile still has 1,713 patients using a ventilator, of which 393 are in critical condition. 3. China News. China is conducting a thorough investigation of the seafood stalls in the Tanfat market, the suspected source of the Beijing outbreak. Earlier, on June 18, Wu Zhenyu, the chief epidemiologist at the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, said the agency looked at the latest positive cases based on occupation and data virus infection. The results showed that the number of seafood sellers with COVID-19 was the most, followed by stalls selling beef and lamb. In addition, they showed symptoms earlier than other patients, Wu said. No. 4. News Peru. In the past 24 hours, Peru also recorded an additional 184 deaths due to COVID-19, bringing the total number of deaths to 8,045, while the number of new infections was 3,598, bringing the total number of cases to 254,936. Peru continues to be the country with the second highest number of infections and deaths in Latin America after Brazil. 5. Venezuela News. In Venezuela, on June 21, Vice President Delcy Rodriguez announced that the government had decided to apply special quarantine measures in 10 states across the country to prevent the rising trend of the COVID-19. According to official statistics, Venezuela has so far recorded 3,779 cases of COVID-19, including 33 deaths. 6. Spanish News. In Spain, although the number of COVID-19 cases is still increasing, Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez affirmed that the country is entering a period of recovery after the pandemic. Accordingly, since June 21, Spain allows visitors to enter the country from the European Union (EU) and the Schengen region without having to isolate themselves for 2 weeks and resume activities. Again, among 17 autonomous communities of this country. However, restrictive measures such as compulsory masking and social spacing will be maintained. With the exception of Spain lifting the state of emergency, most other countries have extended or reimposed blockade orders to prevent epidemics. The Greek Ministry of Immigration, on June 20, announced an extension of the blockade order in crowded refugee camps until July 15. As of June 20, Greece recorded 3,256 cases of COVID-19 and 190 deaths. 7. News Netherlands. In the Netherlands, on June 21, the Hague police said it had arrested about 400 people after they refused to leave a protest against the Dutch government's social measures to prevent social repression, stemming the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic. Thousands of protesters gathered in the Malieveld area of The Hague, near the Dutch government office, carrying a banner demanding the government to lift 1.5 m of social displacement. Authorities allowed the protest to take place for a short time in the afternoon, then asked the crowd to disperse. However, many resigned from the protest area, resulting in small clashes that led police to intervene with water cannons and arrested about 400 people. 8. Vietnam News. In Vietnam, 67 days without a record of COVID-19 infection in the community, 349 cases were recorded, of which 327 patients were declared cured. Out of 22 patients who are still being treated, 6 patients have tested negative for COVID-19 from one time or more. 9. Indian News. In India, June 21 is the second consecutive day the number of COVID-19 infections has just surpassed 15,000. In the past 24 hours, India recorded 15,181 people infected, bringing the total number of infected people to 426,910 with 13,703 deaths, an increase of 426 cases. India is currently the largest outbreak in Asia and the fourth most infected country after the US, Brazil and Russia. 10. News of Egypt. The Egyptian Ministry of Health reported that 1,475 more SARS-CoV-2 infections were reported, bringing the total number of cases to 55,233. In the past few days, the number of newly discovered cases has been increasing steadily and is an average of over 1,000 people per day. In addition, an additional 87 patients died from COVID-19, bringing the total number of deaths from this dangerous disease to 2,193 people. In addition, an additional 409 patients recovered and were discharged, thereby bringing the total number of patients cured to 14,736. Our newsletter is now over. Thank you for always watching and supporting our videos. Knowledge of coronavirus, channel and travel for all fanpage respectfully, and see you in the next video.